Today I'm going to read the 8th task in chapter 3 of this book. If this is the first time you're seeing one of my readings, I urge you to follow the link to the introduction, which you'll find under this video. The purpose of it is summarized here. It is about infusing human women with wild woman's primary instinctual power, intuition. So women must undergo 9 tasks in order to initiate their intuition, and today I'm reading task number 8. The 8th task, standing on all fours. Baba Yaga is repelled by Vasilisa's blessing from her dead mother and gives Vasilisa light, a fiery skull on a stick, and tells her to go. The tasks of this part of the tale are these: taking on immense power to see and affect others, receiving the skull, looking at one's life situations in this new light, finding the way back to the old stepfamily. Is Baba Yaga repelled because Vasilisa has received her mother's blessing, or rather is she just repelled by blessedness in general? Actually, not quite either. Considering the later Christian religious overlay, it would also appear that here the story has been shifted to make the Yaga seem afeard of Vasilisa's having been blessed, thereby fulfilling a newer religious proponent's desire to demonize this old wild mother who comes from as far back as the Neolithic era, with an eye to elevating the newer religion. The original word of the story might have been changed to blessing to encourage conversion, but I think the essence of original and archetypal meaning is still there. The issue of the mother's blessing can be interpreted this way. The Yaga is not repelled by the fact of the blessing, but is rather put off by the fact that the blessing is from the too-good mother, the nice, the sweet, the darling of the psyche. If the Yaga is true to form, she would not care to be too close to, not for too long near, the too conforming, too demure side of the feminine nature. Although the Yaga could blow life's breath into a mouse child with infinite tenderness, she would rather not be around sweetness and light too long. That attribute she leaves to the personal psyche. In this sense, she could be said to know well enough to stay on her own land. Her land is the underworld of the psyche. The too-good mother's land is that of the topside world. Although sweetness can fit into the wild cannot long fit into sweetness. When women integrate this aspect of the Yaga, they change from accepting without question every tinker, every barb, every dadu, everything that comes their way, to gain a little distance from the sweet blessing of the too-good mother. A woman gradually learns to not just look, but to squint and to peer, and then, more and more, to suffer no fools. Having now, through serving the Yaga, created a capacity within herself which she did not have before, Vasilisa receives a portion of the wild hag goddess's power. Some women are afraid this deep knowing via instinct and intuition will cause them to be reckless or thoughtless, but this is an unfounded fear. Quite the contrary, lack of intuition, lack of the sensitivity to cycles, and not following one's knowing causes choices which turn out poorly, even disastrously. More often, this Yagain kind of knowledge moves women by small increments, and most often gives direction by giving women clear pictures of what lies beneath or behind the motives, ideas, actions, and words of others. If the instinctive psyche says beware, then the woman must pay heed. If the deep intuition says do this, do that, go this way, stop here, go forward, the woman must make corrections to her plan as needed. Intuition is not to be consulted once and then forgotten. It is not disposable. It is to be consulted at all steps along the way. Whether the woman's work be clashing with a demon in the interior or completing a task in the outer world. Now let us consider the skull with fiery light. It is a symbol from ancestral worship. In later archaeo-religious versions of the story, the skulls on sticks are said to be those of humans whom the Yaga has killed and eaten. But in the older religions, which practiced ancestral kinship, bones were recognized as the agents for calling the spirits, the skulls being the most salient part. In ancestral kinship, it is believed that the special and timeless knowledge of the old ones of the community lives on in their very bones after death. The skull is thought to be the dome which houses a powerful remnant of the departed soul, one which, if asked, can call the entire spirit of the dead person back for a time in order to be consulted. It is easy to imagine that the soul self lives right in the bony cathedral of the forehead, with the eyes as windows, mouth as door, and ears as the winds. So when Yaga gives Vasilisa a lighted skull, she is giving her an old woman icon, an ancestral knower, to carry with her for life. She is initiating her into the matrilineal legacy of knowing, one which, in the caves and canyons of the psyche, remains whole and thriving. So off goes Vasilisa into the dark forest with her skull on a stick. She wandered about to get to the Yaga. Now she returns home more sure, more certain, hips aimed straight ahead. This is the ascent from the initiation of deep intuition. Intuition has been set into Vasilisa like a center jewel in a crown. When a woman has come this far, she has managed to leave the protection of her own inner too-good mother. Learn to expect and deal with adversity in the outer world in a powerful rather than a complicit manner. She has become aware of her own shadowy and inhibitory stepmother and stepsisters and the destruction they mean to do to her. She has negotiated through the dark, listening to her inner voice, and has been able to stand the face of the hag, which is a side of her own nature, but also the powerful wild woman nature. Thus she is enabled to understand awesome and conscious power, her own and that of others. No more, but I'm afraid of him, her, or it. She has served the hag goddess of the psyche, fed the relationship, purified the personae, kept clear thinking. She has gotten to know this wild feminine force and its habits. She has learned to differentiate, to separate thought from feelings. She has learned to recognize the great wild power in her own psyche. She has learned about life, death, life, and women's power gift about it all. With this newly acquired Yaga skull, she need not lack in confidence or potency anymore. Having been given the legacy of the mothers, intuition from the human side of her nature, and a wild knowing from the Lake Sabe side of the psyche, she is well enabled. She goes forward in life, feet placed surely one after another, womanly. She has coalesced all her power and sees the world now and her life through this new light. Let us see what happens when a woman behaves thusly. This is the end of the 8th task.